Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 10 of the Doña Ana County Clerk's Office Preserving History and Democracy podcast. My name is Amanda López Askin, very proud to serve Doña Ana County as the county clerk.
And my name is Zamora, and I'm the Chief Deputy County Clerk.
We should have a track that does
we
this
should.
in the
We should have a
background.
laugh
All right,
track.
maybe we should do that
Shayla?
for next time.
We'll adding effects here. It's magic.
So today we're here to talk about the 2025 RLE. We use these acronyms all the time, and so this is the regular local election. Yes, and so I talk about this quite a bit. Every November, like clockwork, you can count on an election in New Mexico, and it didn't used to be that way.
No, it used to be really confusing.
Yes, so there would be school board elections in the different. We have three school districts in Doña Ana County. So if you can imagine 3 school districts having their elections at maybe slightly off times in February or March, even January, just kind of depending on how it rolled, as well as the 5 municipalities.
Yep.
Generally having them in similar times, but not necessarily. So what state law did in 2019 was fold them into the November elections, which is helpful for voters, helpful for participation, and frankly, helpful for our office as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think when they consolidated, that really was the most voter friendly because, like you said, you would be driving past a school and all of a sudden you're seeing signs for an election. And you're like, am I supposed to be voting?
We're like, is that for me?
Yeah.
I'm like, surely it's not for me. But was that for like the actual teachers? Like I remember just not knowing, so then I wouldn't participate.
Yes.
And I always say like looking at your voting history is like looking at your credit report. So I'm pretty proud that as I go through my credit report, otherwise known as my voting history, I voted since 1992. But I know within there are local school board elections that I've missed, unfortunately. It's not because I meant to, it's because I just didn't know. So now we hope that this becomes institutionalized, meaning it's something that we just learn to do. We know every November like clockwork. We generally think of the even numbered years, which is governor and presidential, as the one that you have to participate in. But we say every election is important.
Absolutely. And so what's really easy to remember is during the odd numbered years, like 2025, that's when you have the regular local elections. Mm-hmm. And so this year we have a regular local election, and it's the 5 municipalities: Village of Hatch, the City of Las Cruces, the Town of Mesilla, the City of Anthony, and the City of Sunland Park, plus the 3 school districts, which is Hatch Public Schools, Las Cruces Public Schools, and Gadsden Independent School District.
Yes.
And then all the watershed boards. And so there are several watershed boards as well. And so those are, you can think local. Like when we say the regular local elections, that's what we mean. We mean the municipalities, the school districts, the watershed boards.
Yes. And also there's these bond questions. So if you are a taxpayer in Doña Ana County and you are a voter, you have a say on whether you support or do not support them. And so hopefully you do your research and you figure out where you stand on those. But today we're here to talk about some dates.
Yes.
We have a very cool, always informational flyer that we offer, not just on our socials, but we actually have the paper copies, which aren't necessarily very common. But we've already had a couple of dates, at least one date pass us by that was important, which is the start of early voting, and that was October the 7th. I always say I think of these in terms of 3 stages, and the first stage for me is the early voting day, the start of that, which is here at the government center. But the second one, right, part 2, I think of is coming up. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so Saturday we have expanded early voting.
Yes.
And that's when we have early voting that expands to 9 other sites throughout Doña Ana County. And what that is to make it easier and more convenient for voters. Because starting on October 7th, like Amanda just said, we were only at the government center. Only the government center was open. Now expanded early voting goes to those 9 other sites, which are Anthony Public Library, Corbett Center Student Union, Doña Ana Community College Chaparral, Doña Ana Community College East Mesa Campus, Doña Ana Community College Sunland Park, Hatch Valley Public School, Student Service Center, Las Cruces City Hall, and Mesilla Town Hall. Yep.
So kudos to, for sure, NMSU.
Yes.
Because they really are awesome, and we have voting locations there. And, of course, the school systems in general, but specifically to universities that are supporting it, I really, really appreciate them more than you can imagine, because a lot of our turnout does come from Corbett, and, people utilize these sites. So expanded means basically across Doña Ana County, which is always important to talk about this idea that we have a BOD. Another acronym, which stands for ballot on demand. And ballot on demand basically means that when you come up to a voting location, wherever you choose to vote, whether that's in Anthony, whether that's in Mesilla, you have a ballot waiting for you. We do not print that ballot until you check in, offer your identification, sign under a 4th degree felony that is you, and then you're able to complete your ballot and vote. And so it's important to note that we do have a ballot on demand system, which has been very helpful to voters. So I remember standing in line when I was, 19, 20 years old, and I was at one school thinking I could vote. And then when they got to me and they looked at their list, they're like, oh, your precinct isn't here, which is basically like the cluster of community that, kind of I vote with in my neighborhood. And I
You have to go and stand in line somewhere else?
Stand in line again. So we don't do that. We don't do that. We also have same-day voter registration. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, same-day voter registration is another really great voter-friendly and really voter convenience. If you want to either change your address, you need to change your address, you've moved since the last time you registered, or if maybe you got married and you changed your name, or you got divorced and you changed your name. But same-day voter registration is one of those really important conveniences, and you can do that at any location.
And if you are a new voter, a first-time voter here in Doña Ana County or in New Mexico, you just know that basically you're going to have to offer some enhanced identification requirements and residency requirements, and you may have to wait. And that is one of the things I say, like, I am not a punitive person. I do not believe in punitive administration of anything. But what I will say is if you wait until that time to register to vote, then you will have to potentially wait, especially on election day. So that's why we love early voting, because we know that there are some things that come up. And I will also say that same-day voter registration increases turnout, and hopefully for young people specifically, because they may not be tuned in until they're tuned in. And then when they do tune in, they're like, okay, I want to vote. And we want to reduce those barriers for them.
Yeah. So if you're going to need to utilize same-day registration, maybe you moved and you have to update your address, please check in at the same-day registration check-in station when you get to the voting site. And so you'll want to do that first and then go to get in line for getting your ballot. So you'll want to do that first.
And I also will say you can head to nmvote.org and you can also register to vote there. Also, but note that you will have to provide very specific information there, as well as when you get to a voting location. If you vote in person, you are going to have to provide your identification. If you're voting by mail that way and you're a first-time voter, you're also going to have to provide it via mail. So it's good to just come in and get it all done and do that. One of the things that I want to talk about for sure is one of the reasons that New Mexico is ranked number one in election administration by MIT. And that is all the best practices that we implement. A very cool thing that we have is curbside voting. And so I was thrilled to pull up today, and we have even a parking spot that says specifically, this space is reserved for those who are curbside voting. And do you want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Curbside voting is a great resource for those who are disabled or handicapped. So let's say you're going on Saturday when expanded early voting has started and you're at the City of Las Cruces site. You'll call our office. You'll let us know, hey, I'm here for curbside voting. We then in turn get a hold of the presiding judge, who will then communicate with you, bring you your ballot, things like that, so that we can take care of your needs during at curbside voting.
And keep in mind that there is a secure process that happens there as well. So we do have individuals from different parties come to get your name, your identification, confirm it as you. We also print the ballot out, bring it out in, and have privacy sleeves, so your vote and the privacy of it is protected. So we do have a lot of measures in place, including a lot of accountability that encourage curbside voting for anybody. And there may be some reasons that we don't even know why you're doing curbside voting, and we ask that it not be something that is just casually used. Sometimes people have maybe anxiety, and being in a large building with a lot of people is overwhelming for them. We want them to vote, and so this is a great way to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, again, New Mexico is such a voter-friendly state. Like, really, we work so hard to make sure that voters have the opportunity at as many opportunities as possible to vote. And so I think that's really important when we talk about things like same-day registration, the ballot on demand system, the curbside voting. What I love about the ballot on demand system is that you can live in Hatch, work in Las Cruces, and you can vote in Las Cruces, right across from your office. You don't have to vote in Hatch if you live in Hatch. Like, as long as you're within Doña Ana County, you can go ahead and vote there.
Right, and decreasing barriers is always
Yes.
the goal. What are the barriers to somebody participating in an election? Well, let's look at those, let's break them down, and let's figure out how we can collectively fix them.
Another thing that we want to go ahead and talk about is absentee voting. If you want to request and submit your application for an absentee ballot or a mail-by-mail ballot, you have until October 21st to submit that application. If you have any questions or you'd like to request an absentee ballot, go ahead and call our office or go on to nmvote.org and you can request there. Again, Absentee is a really great resource. It's really helpful for those who are would like to maybe have the ballot at home and do some research at home and look into candidates while they're sitting at their computer and really like researching topics and things like that. So if you want to be on the permanent absentee list, I really recommend that. nmvote.org. You can submit or return your absentee ballot via mail, and you'll get the sleeve with all the instructions for that. Or you can drop it off at any of the 9 secure containers throughout the county. And when we call these secure containers, we really do mean that. Like, they have weather sensors, 24-hour monitoring, video monitoring, so we know what's going on with them at all time. These are more secure than your regular post office drop box.
Right, and I always say, like, there are seals that are on them that when they are opened or tampered with, we're aware of. We also document the seal numbers every time we go. We count them. Then when we return them, we count them again, and then they're sealed again. I mean, there are so many layers, again, of accountability. And, it's important, again, to decrease the barriers. And I always refer to them as secured containers. I know a lot of people call them drop boxes, and that's fine. But I want to always punctuate the security of those specifically. Again, go to fvap.gov if you are an overseas military, any of those voters that are not necessarily in the continental U.S. For options for you to vote. And we are always thrilled when we get one of those in, because we know that people are watching from near and far and that they are participating, and that is something that we cannot recommend enough, right?
Yes, agree. Also, if you need, you can turn in your absentee ballot to any of the 9 secure containers, like I mentioned, or any of the voting locations, whether it's the 9 expanded early voting sites or on election day. It has to be in at one of the voting sites or in a secure container or in our office by 7 p.m. on election day.
When we stick to that, I mean, it is the law, and something I say often is the best thing about my job can sometimes be the most challenging, is we follow election statute.
Yep, we do.
And so whether I like it or not, mostly I do, because I think we have great laws in New Mexico. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters that we implement it by statute. So we do that. So thrilled, excited. I love to vote in person. I will be voting. I don't know if election day, things do get hectic on that day, but I will be voting in person. But I have voted via mail. And that was a great option to sit down with my daughter, who at the time was 4 or 5. It was during the pandemic. And I remember I even bought her a Dr. Seuss book. And it was like, I vote, you vote, we all vote or something, and kind of went over the things with the items with her. And, she grasped it as much as any 4 or 5-year-old would. But we talk about that to this day. So it's a great way to also encourage young people in your home that this is what we do. We vote.
Yeah. You know what I really like about absentee is now we have the tracking system for absentee, which I think is a really great tool that we have. Again, very voter friendly. So if you're you're applying for your absentee ballot, you're able to track where the ballot is. If it's been printed, if it's been mailed, where it is in the mail. And then once you put it back into the mail, if it's gone to our office, which I think is a really, again, another secure feature.
And it also gives voters confidence that their vote is counted, and that at the end of the day, really, that is vital for us to offer that to our community, that faith that we will count your vote.
1,000% agree.
Phase 3 is Election Day, and that is November the 4th this year. So it is always a big day for us, and basically our Super Bowl, so to speak. And that kind of continues throughout weeks after, because we do have a lot of layers of auditing and certification that we move towards. So just keep that in mind. So again, October the 7th already happened. That was early voting started here at the Government Center. October 18th is the expanded sites. That's all over Doña Ana County. County and go to dacelections.com, and you'll be able to see specifically where those locations are and what is the most convenient for you. And the Super Bowl, which is November the 4th. And that is when we hope that we get a great turnout. Historically, local elections don't have great turnout, but we're trying to change that. And one of the ways that we are doing that is by talking about it, promoting it, offering education, reducing the barriers, and all the things that we can help do to support our community participating, which is vital, right? Vital for the health of our community, vital for the collective support of leaders. And, I always talk about local elections being important. They're often the ones that affect us the most. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much for listening, watching, however you're listening or watching to us. We really appreciate it. And share this. This is great information for everybody in our community to have. Again, my name is Amanda López Askin, proud to serve as your Doña Ana County Clerk. And this is our podcast and YouTube, Preserving History and Democracy.